Iran on one side maintains that they had no plan to build any nuclear weapons, as opposed to what Donald Trump has been claiming. Israel on the other side is preparing only to intensify the operation, because on their side they have been calling the operation to be a lion's roar. Now, in this exclusive conversation, let's also talk about how the Teheranian leader says that if necessary, there would be a full-scale invasion of Lebanon. And this is also now being ruled out as far as, let's take a look at the Israel point of view, I beg your pardon, what they are now been saying as far as the multi-front war that has been taking place. Israel says they are ready for a full-scale invasion also of Lebanon.
In the end, I would ask for your assessment. Is a full-scale invasion of Lebanon on the cards to finish the Hezbollah once and for all?
It's a possibility that shouldn't be taken off the table. I think Hezbollah is another example of what Iran is doing to the Middle East, to the region. Think of it this way: it's a terror organization. It's defined as a terror organization by everybody, including the EU and everyone else. And this terror organization is taking hostage a whole country. So if the people of Lebanon knows what's best for them, they should tell Hezbollah, get lost, leave this country. Otherwise, you're bringing doomsday on us all.
Utkarsh sir, do you believe that this is going to be a possibility? You know, boots on the ground is something that US for now was ruling out as far as in Iran is concerned. But is Israel prepared for this operation to extend it now to Lebanon? It has already been hitting at command centers of Hezbollah.
There are few things which we must consider regarding Lebanon. Firstly, the Hezbollah is a very formidable opponent for Israel. Its arsenals are full. Second thing is that the Lebanese government, though the Prime Minister has said that Hezbollah should not interfere, but Lebanese government has a very weak influence on Hezbollah. In fact, it is also said Hezbollah is Lebanon, Lebanon is Hezbollah. So, and third thing is that Israel wants to reach somehow at the line of Litani River. And it has already said many times that we want to secure anything south of Litani River so that the rockets from Hezbollah do not come to northern Israel. So here there is a possibility that Israel may start a ground offensive and drive the Hezbollah north of Litani River.
Because as far as Hezbollah's Beirut stronghold that has been hit by Israel, but Hezbollah also, as far as its leadership is concerned, has also said that they are going to open this full-scale operation against Israel and the US as well. So still very much a threat as far as in the region is concerned, both to Israel and to US. But there is a breaking update that is now coming in, and we would want to focus on that. Now, has a Pakistani spy being used in Iran? Because when it comes to this Pakistani man, what has now been said, has been charged in the US in this assassination plot that has been claimed that they have now been recruited. The suspect says that the plot was actually to target US political leaders, and says that there was a certain handler that was linked to IRGC that ordered these hits, where Donald Trump was on the target hit list. Joe Biden was also named on that hit list as the possible targets. And this case has now raised fresh concerns over Iranian-linked plots. Well, Eric, as far as Tehran is concerned, this seems to be shifting of the focus from the Epstein files. But do you believe that there was a greater and a bigger conspiracy? Because he seems to be also saying that there was never a plan in place to assassinate the US president.
I believe that from our perspective here in the United States, and just as Secretary Hegseth mapped out this morning at his briefing, that this plan has been put together several months ago. They were just waiting on the opportune time to start it. Once Iranian leadership started to congregate in one spot, that was their moment, that it was their opportune time to go. As we're seeing from the military strategy side of things, we're seeing Iran's naval fleet being depleted. We're claiming that we have air superiority. I think we're seeing a plan being executed in Iran. We just had reports today of the Kurds coming over from Iraq to join into the ground battle side of things. So there's a lot going on, and for a lot of our leftist media in America, they're saying there's no plan, but we're actually seeing a plan. Secretary Hegseth mapped out a plan.
But Eric, was there an imminent threat? I mean, as far as when it comes to Iran is concerned, it has been putting out statements saying that when there was dialogue that was happening, imagine that the talks were happening in Geneva at that point when jointly US and Israel decided to strike Iran. What was the point exactly, and how long is, US has been saying that they will be able to sustain the war, but again, there are going to be global consequences. How long will you be able to pull off this conflict?
So President Trump did address that this morning and yesterday. He stated that he believed that Iran was getting ready to target U.S. installations. And so President Trump, instead of being reactive, became proactive and attacked first. So that is what we're being told here from the White House. And so when we look at that, maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong. I'm not real sure, but it does look like that we are in this committed. And as far as right now, it just looks like a lot of airstrikes and some naval maneuvering. I'm not real sure if we're going to see boots on the ground. Secretary Hegseth did mention this morning that if we needed to put boots on the ground, we're prepared to do that. So there's still a lot yet.
But that would escalate immensely as far as boots on the ground if that kind of a situation ever develops, because that will, lead to a lengthening of this conflict, this war there, that what we are looking at, because it believes that Israel is already planning a full-scale invasion as far as Hezbollah command centers are concerned. But we have another round of breaking update that is now coming in. We would want to focus on that because there has been a fresh wave of airstrikes that have now hit the IRGC missile sites. Now, this is exactly what President Trump was talking about, saying that they have already obliterated when it comes to the nuke facilities of Iran, and now they are going after the missile sites, the launchers there, because blinding the enemy seems to be one of the main objectives that the US is now going forward with. Massive explosions that have been reported, Iranian missile infrastructure that is said to be under fire, and these strikes that aim to cripple the launch network, where blasts have rocked the IRGC facilities as well, and this is being reported from Yas in Iran. So we're looking at other cities as well that are now under target, because Utkarsh sir, if you can give us a better understanding. Blinding the enemy seems to be the focus. Ballistic missiles. Iran has a substantial arsenal, as you've been also mentioning. Now, going forward with this, do you believe that the other objective that US has is actually destroying the missile infrastructure?
The first thing is that US wants to degrade Iran's ballistic and drones capability. The ballistic missile capability, if it is degraded, it will help in many ways, like the securing the Persian Gulf, securing the security of the Persian Gulf states who are the US allies. And then Iran will not be able to attack Israel from there. So what is the problem? It is inhibiting this is firstly the production site. Iran has underground production facilities for missiles. Second is the Iran's launching sites. Some of the launching sites which US has been able to pick up have been destroyed. There are many more launching sites which have not even opened up. Because if you see the map, you will normally find it is the western half of Iran from where the missiles have been coming from. The eastern half of Iran is still dormant. For all you know that in the later phase of war, the eastern half or the southern half starts firing up. So US is tracking those missile sites and missile launchers. The biggest thing is that missile launchers, missile may be in plenty, but missile launchers are finite. If the missile launchers are destroyed, then Iran cannot launch the thing. But this is not the case.
But how
with the
long
drones.
do you believe that the firepower will last of Iran? Or Iran is trying to hold back missiles so that its operations can last longer?
Iran has to hold back its firepower in terms of drones and missiles so that it lasts longer, and this particular threat remains a credible thing. So here you have a problem with the drones also. drones are rather portable, they can be fired, but the missiles require infrastructure. And missiles require underground facility. Through rail, they come out, fire and go back. So these signatures are easily picked up by the satellites, by the other means, and they are actually retaliated against. So US has secured a lot of hits on the missile launchers of Iran, and as they pass, these things will be degraded.
Right. Pathikrit, nobody is speaking of the Epstein files now.
Well, we have seen these false flag operations quite a few times. I mean, Iran, we know what the Iranian regime is. I have no mercy and sympathy for that. But when you're doing negotiations in one place and then doing this kind of operation, then, it leaves no place for any kind of reconciliation. And yes, Epstein file is an issue. It's a very big issue. So that has the way it has always been. But even nevertheless, this war would have happened today or tomorrow, because once Israel had taken care of Hezbollah, Houthi, and Hamas, they would have gone for the head of the octopus. That is a reality. However, what is important to understand is that Iran is not a Venezuela. And the Iranian Navy or Iranian Air Force was never an issue for the Americans or the Israelis. It was always the ballistic missile and the drone manufacturing capacity. Look at the kind of hits that the Iranians have done on most of the Arab states.
Yes.
These are mostly with drones, and those, the air defense systems can be the air defense system is now getting diminished. There's a huge shortage of interceptor missiles, which the Arab states are now having. 7 days later, what would happen? Nobody knows, unless the Americans supply them in large numbers. So you would see probably a very calibrated launches now from the Iranians. They will slow down the pace, but they'll keep on doing it. Remember, every war that happened in Middle East from 1980 to 1988, there was an 8-year war between Iran and Iraq.
Yes.
At that time, Iraq was completely supported by the Americans and the Saudis.
Well, will the hostilities now rise, or will other countries also now be dragged in? Because the area of concern for India is also there when we speak of the global trade route. Let's put out this breaking update, what we are learning, because even as the fighting that intensifies, what has now been reported that nearly 38 Indian ships have been stuck near the Strait of Hormuz, with authorities that are said to be coordinating with the rescue preparedness and closely tracking also the maritime security threats. And these Indian ships, 38 of them, which has reportedly around 1,100 sailors, are now stuck in the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and the adjoining sea areas due to closure of the key shipping route through the Strait of Hormuz, and the conflict that has already claimed Indian lives, as well as, according to reports, at least 3 Indian seafarers aboard the foreign flagged vessels have been killed, and this has now been reported in West Asia amid the ongoing hostilities. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on the broadcast. In the meantime, we head into a short break. The rolling coverage continues on the other side.